You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
Hey guys, welcome back to First of All, a real unfiltered conversation on career, family, relationships, and culture. I'm your host, Minji Chang. I'm an actor, producer, and now really a filmmaker. And I'm here to share inspiring stories and to walk through everyday life with you. How are you guys? Good to be back. Hope you're doing well and staying safe and sane and still getting tested because this pandemic's still a thing. We thought that it would be done, in my 7-8 week break, but sad to say it's still here. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. And I had a nice break from the podcast, but of course, in true Minji fashion, kept very, very busy, have been doing a lot of the creative work and have some fun updates that I do want to share with you guys. But first of all, want to celebrate that we are here at Season 3. Season 3, Episode 1, Who'da Thunk? Did anyone doubt me? It's okay if you did, because I doubted me too. I was like, can I make it? Can I do it? But I'm here, I'm back, and riding on the coattails of Season 2, I am feeling really fired up about this next batch of episodes and the things I want to say and have been talking about with some incredible guests, many of which we've actually recorded by the time you guys are hearing this, and just a lot of cool life updates that have happened in between that, I don't know, just further given me fuel in this whole Tiger Year journey of mine that I mentioned last season. It's all of our Tiger years, but I just think that it's a time of action and actualizing things that we've been ideating on, thinking about, ruminating on, self-doubting, all this stuff. I think it's time to go. It's time to move, and there's no time to waste. So it's really exciting. I hope you guys are as stoked as I am. And buckle up and get ready for an awesome Season 3. I'm genuinely really proud of what we've created so far. And I'm very proud and thankful of my team. I got to start off the season by thanking the team and also congratulate my lovely producer, Anna, because she's pregnant with baby number 2 and she's going to be taking her maternity break. So I actually want to maybe do like a little Craigslist call out. Like if you are interested in producing, hit me up. I need to talk to you. But that's not to, I'm sorry, I did not mean to turn that into a job call. Congratulations to Anna. Anna's been my friend since I was 6 years old, since first grade. So being her friend basically for an entire lifetime and watching her become a mother, an amazing mother, and just, she has baby girl. She has a boy and now she has baby girl, and so excited for her. That means a lot too, because I'm the younger sister of an older brother. And it's just, I love it. I love the dynamic. I'm so happy for her. She's an incredible mom. So congrats to Anna. And another quick update for you guys before we head into this episode, I promise we'll get there, is that, as I mentioned in the very top of the intro, I am actually like a real filmmaker now. And for those who have been following along for a while, I did plug here and there, not really extensively, but I have been producing a feature documentary that I have been working on with my ex-boyfriend, Kenji Tsukamoto. And I've been on that project for about 4 years now, on and off, took a couple breaks, and he's been on that for over 10 years at this point. And it's a feature documentary that's about one of the best rock climbers in the world, who happens to be a young Japanese-American rock climber named Ashima Shiraishi. And that project has been such a journey for me to learn how to become an actual film producer. There's a lot of exciting things that have been happening in the very recent months. And so I'm really stoked. He might be kind of nervous for me to say this out loud, but I'm honestly I'm very confident that it's going to be able to reach a wide audience. So just keep an eye out for that. But in addition to that, in addition to being a film producer for, this feature documentary where I've got to learn so much, I've also wanted to do my own thing for a long time. I made a music video back in 2015. If anybody watched that, it's for a song called 10 Goodbyes by Tim Atlas. If you guys want to look it on YouTube, it's there. And I made that in collaboration with my friend Kenny Liu and my friend John Enriquez. And I've had pilots that I've written, shorts that I've written. I wrote a feature film, and all of these ideas have basically just been sitting and blocked for a number of reasons, a lot of procrastinating, a lot of like imposter syndrome and self-doubt and just dragging my feet for so many things. And for some reason this year, again, Tiger year, who knows? The year, what is this year? It's our Saturn's return, is it? Or Pluto's return? I forgot. Jenny, tell me what I said or did not say correctly. But I don't know what the stars have aligned to currently, but I'm making stuff. So I'm in pre-production at the moment. You guys are hearing this. I'm deep in the middle of pre-production for my first short film. And I'm working with all friends right now. These are all friends of mine I'm working with that are incredibly talented. I will share more details about the project, but just want to update you guys. Like, I'm actually making my first short film and have a lot of high hopes for it. And yeah, this train is moving. So really excited to share that because I think that's just been this very, very, very ongoing big goal of mine that I'm finally living in truly and feeling a lot of feelings as I make it. But one of them is just complete and utter fulfillment and joy on top of being like terrified and like shitting my pants a little bit. But it's okay. That's part of it. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you guys because that's the life update to kick off season 3. And that's a lot of what I've been up to in the break. And as I share more details about the film, I've had so many great friends offer to support it. And I'll announce it here now. There will be a Kickstarter. I do need support and help in making this project come to life. And just keep an eye out for that. I will share that later. And thank you guys. Thank you to everybody that's been listening to me process a lot of different facets of myself and my life on air with you, and for being so supportive and so encouraging along the way. Especially to my Patreon patrons, I have to, because we've been doing our hangouts for years at this point. And yeah, all of those things, all those tiny little things, and they were huge things that pushed me to this point, or lifted me or elevated me to this point. But yeah, so that's my announcement right at the top. And here we are at the top of season 3, episode 1. And we're talking about one of the most personal things to me, which is law of attraction. I plugged this a lot of different times over the course of the last couple seasons and many hundreds of episodes. Not many hundreds, a couple hundreds. And haven't ever talked about it openly. So of course, for this one, I had to bring in none other than Roxy Shih. She is the co-host and lover and best friend of Priska Leanne Kim of Two Horny Goats. And she is honestly one of the top people that I think of in my head that I can talk about law of attraction and frequencies and vibrations and energies. You know, she's honestly top 5 people that I think of in my head. And she's such a bright light. She's incredibly smart, sharp, and eloquent about this, very deep. So I'm excited for us to share that with you because this is something that has really impacted my life for a number of years. And I think I felt some apprehension talking about because I don't have anything incredibly structured or conclusive to share with people, at least in my mind. And I grew up in the church with a very strict and rigid belief system that, you know, in my mind, I'd been really, really devoutly committed to and was under the impression for a long time in my life that if I believed anything outside of that, that I was doing something wrong, sinful, evil, you know, just bad vibes in summary. And so for me to explore this with a curiosity and with like the astounding evidence and experiences that I've had, just being open to a different way of thinking and thinking about life in a different plane and a different spiritual paradigm has been really, really, really fun. Honestly, fun and humbling and awe-inspiring. And just honestly driven more curiosity. And I'm grateful for that because I think the way that I grew up was with so much more certainty than I have now. And I feel better about life being more uncertain and more curious. And it continues to surprise me. So I hope that you guys enjoy this conversation. And it is a really big topic. So just giving you guys a heads up, we cover a lot of ground. We're not, you know, it's any sort of Wikipedia page on law of attraction. It's just sharing our experiences and our thoughts. And some of those things can be a little bit inside baseball sounding, but I hope you guys will have some patience. And yeah, we'll hop around here and there. And hopefully, again, just drive curiosity because I think what I really want to share on this podcast in general is create a space where people can wonder out loud and can have a point of view that it is strong, that can be strong, but can also be encouraged to like be thought of differently, analyzed deeper, changed if it's good to be changed. I don't know. I'm just here to think out loud and to share different perspectives. So before we jump into the episode, of course, I gotta plug my girl Roxy because she's one of my favorite people on this planet. And Roxy is a filmmaker. She's a spiritual healer, and she runs a podcast called Two Horny Goats with her best friend Priska. And on Two Horny Goats, they eloquently, hilariously, beautifully dismantle Asian American stereotypes and difficult discussions 1 week at a time. They've been doing their solo episodes. It's absolutely beautiful. And just Roxy's just a consummate creative. And she's also a tarot card reader. And she's just very in touch with herself. And she's very self-aware and self-embracing. That's why I love her so much. So together, we're going to cover a lot of different ground, become pretty vulnerable with you guys. So please be open to us and be kind. Be kind to yourself. Hope you guys have fun exploring this topic. Without further ado, here's the First of All Season 3, Episode 1 on Law of Attraction with Roxy Shih. Enjoy!
Yeah. Came in 88 with a dream oh so bright-eyed. They knew right away, sink or swim, there's no lifelines. Cutting their teeth on the move. Nobody's fitting
Hi,
these
Roxy.
shoes.
Hi, Minji. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I am now a special guest on First of All, which I've been a fan of for so many freaking years. And it's just like an honor to be here.
Okay, well, I've been listening to your podcast a lot. You're actually, just FYI, first of all,
What?
you're my season 3, episode 1 guest. FYI, you're bringing us back.
Shut the front door. Are you serious? I get the golden throne of guests. I get to be the season 3 premiere.
You are premiere, and therefore you are season 3 premiere. I was thinking about telling you in the email. Yeah. But I was like, nah, I want her real reaction.
Holy shit. Wow, this is so amazing. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but did you know that one of our names for Two Horny Goats, like when we were first tossing around titles, was going to be Second of All?
I thought you were trolling me because that's way too much, and I love you guys.
No. I was like, I love First of All. Like, is it too crazy if we call ourselves Second of All? Oh my God. Just like in honor of Minji.
The honor of a lifetime. The fact that you guys even had that on any list anywhere, even mentally, I'm very, very, very honored. So thank you.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
How have you been? I know that we're back, people are quote unquote back to normal, more or less. And then you've been director, star, creating such beautiful projects, working with Kelly Hu, doing your Lifetime, doing your red carpet. Like, how has that all been?
It's actually kind of crazy. I just released my first solo episode on Two Horny Goats last week, and you were actually, again, this is just a Minji standing episode because, Priska and I were saying, well, how about we do solo episodes like Minji? And I'm like, well, we'll try that. But it was so hard, to do a solo. I don't know how you do it. I got super in my head, and it's just so hard talking to yourself. And I think the reason why I wanted to do it was because I'm actually going through what I think is a very difficult time in my life, which is I'm in my mid-30s and I'm trying to make a transition from what I've been doing into different things. Oh. And bigger things, more intentional things. I could go back and do more of my lower budget stuff for a paycheck, but from the outside, I think, I don't want to come off entitled. I know that I'm privileged and I worked hard for where I am now, but things have gotten pretty smoothly for me ever since I started. I was very active in this space, but now I just don't want to be so, you're just you're leveling up and you really want a different cycle and a different start, right? Girl. But in doing so, you have to make room for it. Mm-hmm. You have to sacrifice. And I was talking about how I tend to self-soothe by self-sabotage.
Cannot relate more. Yes, can go on.
And, I took a lot of pride being like, I'm a single, unmarried woman in my mid-30s who's like queer and Asian and doing this unconventional life. But for the first time, like I don't have like big prospects coming. And I'm always someone who plans like 2 to 3 steps ahead. And like sitting in this discomfort has been very new for me because I could see myself spiraling into, well, I guess I'll DoorDash. Well, I guess I'll just keep myself busy. But like I was talking to Priska about it, and we're just talking about like how to like detach value from money and worth and purpose and giving value another meaning. So like, because I want to make this jump, instead of just directing on set, which is what I've been doing, I really want to be more intentional about what I'm writing and what I'm putting forth and my voice, right? So you have to be in silence for that. Like you have to not make money for a little bit. Like when you're doing that, you have to, or find different ways, right? But it's about investing in your future growth and like investing in your value.
Yeah.
And like thinking about Cantor's Law, which is a business term. Do you know about Cantor's Law, Minji?
I do not know. Please explain.
Okay, so you know how in the beginning of every cycle, you're just like, this is so exciting, right? Like your new relationship, you're dating someone exciting, or you're just like, oh, I'm going to get married or whatever, or like my new promotion or like a new project or like a new endeavor. Like as a woman of many hustles, I'm sure you understand, it's like the idea or the seduction of something new is always very titillating. And then you think about the end, the reward, when I'm done with this movie, when I'm like in the film festival, like when I get married or when we have this success. Like people don't think about the middle, and the middle is what Cantor's Law says is the most exhausting, miserable part, because it's after the start. It's when you made that commitment, but it's also where you fail the most.
Whew.
And it's crazy because this cycle we're talking about, it's an arbitrary length, right? Like it's an arbitrary size. It could be a very small circle. It could be a very big one, but you don't know where you are. So you just have to keep consistent in that faith. And so like I was reading about Cantor's Law and I'm just like, oh my God, this resonates so much with a lot of our endeavors and a lot of our cycles in life. And we can only manage like where our feet are, which is like right beneath us. And even though that oasis or like that end goal looks 1,000 meters, 50,000 meters, like it could all look the same on the horizon.
Yeah.
But you can only control what your 2 feet can do, right? You can either stop, you could take steps towards it, you could run towards it, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, that's where I'm sitting in. And, you know, when you're in your mid-30s, you know, you're also in your mid-30s. It's like, I was getting into this space where I just thought, man, did I fail as a woman? Like, did I fail as a filmmaker? Did I fail as a, right? Like you get into a very fucking dark space of, I'm not married. I don't have a family. I don't, whatever.
Yeah.
But then like at the same time, women in our stage in life, like you and me, Minji, like we're unmarried, we are creating a lot of opportunities for ourselves. We're achieving wisdom in our 30s that previous generations have not had the privilege to have.
Right.
Like it's unwritten about because it was shrouded in shame. But was it shrouded in shame, or was it just controlled? The narrative was just controlled by the patriarchy, right?
Right.
Because me now in my 30s would have been a very different woman than if I were to be married and have kids in my 30s. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just very different.
Very different. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what I've been meditating on recently. And it's just so significant that you came to me with this topic about the law of attraction, because it really helps me think about how many times the magic has actually worked and that I still need to continue to have faith in it.
Roxy.
What?
I love you. I fucking love you. I'm embracing you.
Your voice is so sexy. Like,
oh, girl. For you? All day. I'll send you recordings.
Yes. I want them to be all my ringtones for different people. Every single one on my list.
I just, okay, just as right out the gate, I feel like I manifested this conversation. You were speaking to my heart.
Yeah.
So
what
deeply.
Have you been up to, girl? Like, tell me, like, does this Cantor's Law thing also apply to you right now?
100%. And it's absolutely been like the state of mind in which I've been like meditating and like ruminating, there's a lot of words, right? Sometimes it's just like, I'm really thoughtful and curious and just wondering, like in a very neutral space of like, I wonder what's going to happen next. And then, you know, from one moment to the next, it goes into like complete anxiety of like, what the fuck is going on with my life right now? And like, what am I supposed to do? Am I well? Is this going well? Or is, you know, according to who? And then I get mad and I'm like, well, who said, you know, I'm very, I have a very naturally
You live by
rebellious.
yourself, right? You live by yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what happens when you live by yourself.
Well, I have a roommate, but we have very separate lives. I have my own space and I'm just like, or I'm driving and I'm like, says who? Says fucking who? And I'm very, like, I think that's just been my vibe since I was very young, to be honest. Because I've had a very, you'd think because I was such a docile child that I was like really, in certain ways, I was such a rule follower and very, very like placating and, you know, just a good little girl in certain ways. But I think inwardly, down to my soul, I think I've always had like, says who?
I love that. That inner rebellious Minji. You know what I'm saying?
A little bit questioning authority.
Challenging ideas and systems and institutions. I love that.
Yeah, it's been a lot of that. And then I wonder, and then I used to like, I would pinpoint it like, oh, I grew up in the Bay Area. That's all we do is like, what says who? Is that the best way you can do it? I don't agree with that. Who knows? It's all like influence. But I've definitely been in a evaluation place and like, and even in the break from the podcast, which is like in that break, I'm telling you, I get into very reflective mode of like, do I want to keep doing this show? Yeah. That's always kind of like a yes in terms of like, do I enjoy it? Is it something that I feel proud of? Absolutely. But then it comes to like time and resources and all the logistics and like the headache that comes with it, like that can't just like the middle stuff. Yeah. Then I'm like, dude, do I really want to do this though? And so that amongst a million other things have all been kind of under the microscope of like, how's this going? How am I doing? And is it good? Is it worth my time? I am leveling up. I definitely feel that I have been in this like forward movement, really trying to, like you're saying, make space, leaving a lot of past stuff behind, throwing things away, like, but in that, it's a very like, it's a roller coaster. And I also like have been trying to embrace my femininity to like throw that in there. So like think about my cyclical nature as a woman. And so like I've been working out and approaching my health in a very like cyclical way. We're just going all in right now. But like I've been such a big workout fiend and I've had a lot of body issues and a lot of like self-image issues, self-worth issues. And fitness has been a component of that. I've actually like this whole process, very all-encompassing. Like I'm going to work out according to my cycle now. It's like a new part of my life where I'm like, I'm going to go with my own flow. And my hormones, our hormones as female, you know, XX chromosomes, we have a certain hormonal cycle that changes every freaking day.
Yeah, it really is challenging to be us, isn't it? Like men will never know.
It's just, and like they really will never know. And I've kind of like been working on just not looking that as so much of a liability in my life and just looking at it like this is just the way my life is. Because I've grown up my whole life being like, this is such a fucking burden and I hate this.
See, isn't that wild? Like, I've also started working out every day, which is something old Roxy would have never done.
Really?
Like, I used to think of exercise as punishment. And the more you know, punishment for not looking good enough, punishment for, you know, like not being healthy, whatever the fuck, right? But now I can't not exercise because it's become a part of my identity. And it also helps you. I always think about like how good I feel afterwards, how my head is so clear, my body feels more mobile as we get older. So many joints like that crack now. Like I have to do it. And it just becomes a part of who you are. And like, I do have to ask you, Minji, you were talking about your femininity. What does being feminine mean to you?
So this is actually very hand in hand with like the law of attraction and this new paradigm of my life because I grew up really religious and I was really curious about how because you and I have talked about it as like grown women. That's how we've befriended each other and like we're totally in the same vibe, similar frequencies. And I love it because I love finding people that I can talk about this stuff openly without feeling any sort of like self-consciousness and we can celebrate it together.
Absolutely.
So in this newer, like, I guess you can call it, what do they call it now? Like new age kind of, I don't know if it's but it's a new age and new.
They go in like new age spirituality space.
There you go.
You know?
Yes.
It's also becoming like kind of trendy, which I have thoughts about, but
would love to hear your thoughts. We will get there.
Yeah.
But as I've gone in this journey, it's been several years for me at this point. Different paradigms, different concepts, different like entities, like soulmates and twin flames and like divine feminine and divine masculine.
Be careful with all that stuff. Be careful with all that
I know,
stuff. It could really get you into like a overthinking vortex.
1,000, and that's girl. We'll go there. And I've enjoyed and I've appreciated looking at things that I thought of in a very different manner, which was like, again, really hyper religious. I grew up Baptist Christian,
right?
And it was very kind of like these are the roles, and I'm Korean too. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yes.
There's a very
heavily enforced,
patriarchal, traditional, gendered and hierarchical in terms of power. It was all very clearly laid out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, me being me since I was young, I was like, says who? Like, what do you mean?
That's like your little rebellious self. That's your intuition coming in. You
right.
know?
I call bullshit on some stuff.
Absolutely.
Did
you ever listen to her growing up? Did you? I know you listen to her now, but like back then, what did you do when she started to speak up?
I spoke out against my dad. Got in trouble. I think my dad was my big. He was a trigger. If you want to use like psych terms, and if like he was like the way that he carried himself and his energy, and the way he treated my mom, and the way that our household was run. In retrospect, I appreciate some of the structure, I guess. I don't think it's all garbage, but like I definitely had questions. And so I also had an intuition that my dad loved me. I felt that he loved me, even though he was like rough around the edges. And I also felt like ain't nobody going to say something to my dad the way I can. So I kind of took it upon myself to say things to him that I knew nobody else had the guts to say.
How did he take it?
Not very well, but like, again, better than anybody else. If anybody else had said stuff to him, he would have like popped off or gotten violent. I don't know, but I stood my ground in a lot of scenarios. I sassed off.
Good,
and I was like,
good.
Excuse me, don't agree. I think that's wrong.
That's so great because like so many of us were forced to stay silent when we felt that little voice come up.
Right.
You know, and then we were taught that, that inner voice is shameful or is not right or is dark, and isn't mature enough, doesn't know what's right or wrong.
For sure.
You get like fucking gaslit. But at least when you start challenging these things, that's when you start to become more discerning, right?
I mean, I got feedback, right? And the discernment comes from like life experiences. I felt like I definitely was eliciting a response out of him. He was not happy. Mm-hmm. I got consequences. Not like I got off scot-free, like I was untouchable.
Yeah.
But I kind of like continue to take in that data of like, why is this so problematic to you that I think that my mom she should not be treated in like some subservient manner to you. Why is that angering you? I was like intuitively psychoanalyzing my dad and like feeling this anger that has built up in me over the years to question not only authority, but like these paradigms of masculine and like within my household of like, I'm the man, I'm the head of the household. She's my wife, she's my woman. And like, she therefore needs to submit to me. All this very like problematic ideology and then like language that was really pervasive in my life because of the Bible and like just even honorifics, the way that you speak in Korean, like a lot of stuff was reinforcing this. So that was definitely like my life.
That's great because it's sort of this rise of new age spirituality is also rising with releasing the stigma of the discussion around mental health.
Right.
Exactly. It's not like a coincidence that both of these two things are becoming more visible in terms of our language. Right?
Yes.
But back then, it was really difficult. And your parents and my parents and generations before us have no fucking clue how to access any of that. Like, it boggles my mind that, like, my parents won't go to therapy, but they'll go to a freaking shaman or oracle.
Interesting.
At a temple, to get advice. And I'm just like, Dad, I'm like, Mom, that's just new age therapy. Like, all of what I do as a tarot reader, as a spiritual healer is new age therapy. Like,
Yeah.
like if people cannot take it a certain way, or I'm basically doing what therapists do, but I'm using like 5D abilities in order to access that.
Right.
But all of it is just trying to teach my client, or like to let the person know what resources they have in order to change their own sort of inner vibration, and using the law of attraction and using the placebo effect. All of this, by the way, is backed by neuroscience, psychology.
Yep.
Like, it's not just woo-woo shit. All of this is actually science as well.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
to make it happen.
Right.
You know?
I love it. And I love that's I guess in my mind, in my very like 3D, my mind is like a 3D map. It's nothing linear, and I love it.
Yes.
I've embraced that. But I was basically exploring the ideas of like law of attraction, my inner self, my own psychology, my generational trauma, my childhood trauma, and like all kind of layered together with the ideas of femininity, masculinity, as you were asking earlier, like to know that we all have it in ourselves, and it's not about like genitals, and it's not about your chromosomes even. It's about energy, right? It's the dichotomy of our spirit, that we have a side that's more nurturing, that is receptive, and that, you know, it operates in a flow state. And then there's a different side, not better, not worse, just a different side that's also more aggressive and dominant and like action oriented, and you know, and linear. And like, I think those go so beautifully, harmoniously, when we're like in a good place. It goes so harmoniously hand in hand to like create a beautiful existence. So in that paradigm, like looking back at like how I grew up, my relationship with my father, which was very, very impactful on my life, all my relationships, like it's all brought me to this point here where I'm talking to you, where I've explored, not come to like solid, like, oh, I know this, or I'm conclusive about this, but I feel solid. Like, you know what? I think this idea that I have about my own femininity and how much I've held it back because I've been raised in this society that's told me that being softer, or the side of me that I love, but I get ridiculed for, and a lot of people get ridiculed for, which I think the patriarchy does. It fucks you up. So like, why would I've just been go, 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 go.
You're in survival mode. That's what activates your masculine energy. And it's interesting because I've always thought of myself as masculine, and maybe this is just universal through a lot of pan API communities in terms of like being daughters of immigrants, right? Like you're not allowed to feel your feminine energy. And I have always thought I'm really masculine, just like as a queer Asian woman, right? But I never truly understood how it felt to be feminine until my most recent relationship. And this, you know, my partner Ja, he like allows me to cry and to be soft, and but in doing so, it's because he's created a safe place where I'm allowed, where I feel like I could give myself permission to be soft. Where in previous relationships, I've always been hard. Like, it's just been the dynamic. I'm like, love soft people, love soft partners, and I am the hard one.
Right.
But I realize that's not the case. Like, I feel safe enough to feel soft. So, yeah, I'm also exploring my feminine energy as well, you know, and being more open to receiving and not trying to dictate, you know, and just the thing with Cantor's Law and like my current like journey right now is always about receiving, because that's what law of attraction is, right? It's about attracting what's meant to come to you for you instead of chasing after something you can't control.
Yes. Oh, and I love that. I just want to take a little rest stop. I love that feeling that you have of safety to be more of your feminine self. Again, because we have all these different sides of us.
Yeah.
I think it's really, that's so sacred and like beautiful and healing, especially when you, for a lot of different reasons, have grown up feeling like you cannot. Like it's an armor you have to wear, or it's a state of being that you have to be in order to stay safe. You have to stay hard and protective. And like, it's exhausting to be that. Right. So I'm just so happy. I just want to say, like, I love that you've had any sort of experience that allows that part of you to breathe and just be. Because that's so important.
It's so important. And it's like, you know, a lot of my clients who are women and who are older and probably in marriages for like over 10 years have asked me about sex. And so much of relationships and like feeling feminine is recalibrating sex as medicine for you, your soul, your body, your touch, right? Rather than however, it's been defined as by the institution, by whichever institution, for as long as we've been here, right? Because I've also been reading this book called In Defense of Witches, and it kind of talks about like the history of the war on women in many different cultures around the world. Yeah. And it just really breaks my heart. It's also really triggering to read. And I feel like you and me, like we're here to sort of fight that, just to take our power back. And the fact that it's all still happening now, the war on women, and we're sort of in the safe bubble of Los Angeles where we do feel empowered to use our voice and to, set boundaries on our bodies, on our relationships in a way that's healthy. And even in like dynamics in terms of like relationships where we could feel safe to feel more partnership than it is to be as a traditional wife, to be submissive or anything like that. And
or be a mother.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. I mean, I think we are naturally maternal, you know what I mean? But like, you don't really have to have a child in order to do that. Like that's your decision. But to feel protective and to allow yourself to lean into that energy that was for so long, like separated from us as we were growing up because we were all in this survival mode of masculine energy. Right.
Right.
Ugh,
right.
Crazy.
Well, welcome to the episode, everyone.
Sorry, we just dive into the deep shit,
No, we do. That's how we roll. If this is your first episode, well, welcome. But if it's not, you're used to it, so it's good. Welcome to season 3.
Yay.
Roxy, I just feel like we've just gotten thank you for being so open. This is what I adored about you. Literally from the second I sat down at the same table with you, I was like, I love this woman. My intuition, she is strong and she knows that is like, she's a soulmate. Holy crap. I love her.
Oh my God.
It was at Priska's wedding reception and I'd heard of your name before. I knew of you. Yes. And then when I just knew, it was just so great. So as a life manifestation at that moment, law of attraction, like that is, I'll use that as exhibit A of like, my life where I reflect on some of the best moments of my life under this paradigm of law of attraction. Like, holy crap, I'm so grateful. Like, I just got to be in a place where I could get to know Roxy. And
I get to sit at the same fucking table as you, queen, and I've been standing you forever before that moment. Like, I was listening to your pod, and I knew you were like the director of collaboration. Like, you're like an icon in our community. And I'm like, I'm a nobody. How is she ever going to know me? But,
What are you saying?
Like what you're saying, our vibrations attract each other. You find what's meant for you. You find who's meant for you, right?
Yeah.
So
and good and bad. And so I would love to say, like, what is your like? We've gotten in the deep end. It's all good. Now we're just gonna like chill by the pool for a second. and reflect. When did this enter your life? This concept of law of attraction. What do you understand about it? How would you describe it to somebody who knows little to nothing about it?
Okay, well, I started my spiritual journey, I think, around 4 to 5 years ago. So it's actually quite recent. So before then, I just grew up as a Taiwanese American girl, only child, like trying to make her parents proud, right? And I didn't go to get a master's. I didn't study film production. I studied theory at UCI, and that was it. And I came to Los Angeles not knowing anybody. My parents are in Taiwan, and I was PAing on Craigslist jobs, like picking up trash and coffee for people, working 20 hours a day, exhausted out of my mind, making like $50 a day. And I asked my dad, I don't know what I'm doing. And this is when my father knew about the law of attraction way before the book The Secret came out, right? Because The Secret is all about the law of attraction. And he said to me, he's like, Roxy, if you think about who you want to be, and he's like, and what you want to be, he's like, what do you want to be? And I go, I don't know, producer, right? And then he goes, then you got to talk as if you're already there. And so I just thought, well, what does that mean? Is that like fake it till you make it? And he goes, no, you're just embodying someone that you're going to be. You're just asking her to arrive earlier. And he obviously never studied the law of attraction. This was just sincere advice that he gave me, like doing business and like traveling internationally, right? And working internationally. And I said, oh, I'm going to try that. So then, me without any experience, I start talking to everybody about how I want to be a producer or that I am a producer. Like, I'm just inviting future Roxy into young Roxy that doesn't have any experience yet.
I love it.
Strangely, people said yes, right? So then they gave me an opportunity. I would fuck it up, right? Because I don't have the, like, it's not like magically I say it and I'm this person that knows everything, right? So
energy.
It's energy. And then so I'm just like messing up. I'm don't know how to do budgets. I don't know how to look for locations. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to crew up. I don't even know what a sound mixer is, right? But for some reason, anytime I fuck up, like I would own up and admit that I'm just starting, right? Mm-hmm. And then people were really forgiving if you're transparent about it, despite so you're owning this energy, which is like intelligence and confidence, right? Even though you don't have the necessary resume credentials in order to get there. But there's always opportunities if you ask for it. And that's another thing is asking for help is something that's very foreign, or asking for opportunities is very foreign. And I find myself, with my whole situation recently, asking for help again, and I'm planting new seeds, which is something I haven't done since, this story that I'm talking about. So this was the very first example. And then another thing was I remember during this time, I could not visualize my future. Female directors were almost non-existent. Lulu Wang didn't exist yet. You know what I mean? Like Aquafina didn't exist. And there was only Ang Lee. And I'm like, he's not exactly the type of role model I would see myself, being modeled after, because we're so different, right? Mm-hmm. And then so but for some reason, no matter what I did, no matter what I tried to do that was different or in a different field or a different whatever, I just could not imagine it. And I just felt that I had to keep doing whatever this crazy thing is that I'm doing, like saving $2,000 a year to like make a short film with my friends and submit it to whatever festivals, right, would be the path for me. And then I got into, the AWC fellowship with visual communications the first year I applied for it. And I just thought that was already like a huge sign. Right? Despite me not having good grades, despite me not going to like a film school or whatever, I said, there's something here that someone sees in me. And I remember like crying. I was in Taiwan. And I was like, see, Mom, like I'm going to make a short film. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then like once I started directing and once I started producing, like, well, first of all, I didn't get to directing yet. I was mostly producing and editing. And
Got it.
I never thought that I could be a director because I just couldn't see myself really in that position. But then, like, as I started to produce and as I started to edit, I became really good at storytelling. I became really good. I became so connected to so many people in this city because I gave them work. I was really intentional. I loved the work that I was doing. Peaks and valleys of different experiences, good and bad. Mm-hmm. After a while, I remembered I was talking to a friend of mine and he said that he had a script, like a feature script. And he goes, Roxy, I want to know if this could ever be produced, right?
Okay.
And I read the script and I like fell in love with it. And I was like, oh my God, this is totally me. Like this is like one location, 5 actors. It's extremely theatrical. Like it's just questioning theology and Darwinism. It talks about, a pandemic. Haha. Like I'm a witch. I predicted the future. And then, I just had like a lunch also that week with a director friend of mine that I produced for. He goes, Roxy, no one will take you seriously until you make your first feature film. And I said, look at me. I am an Asian woman. Do you name one Asian woman who's a director that you know? Mm-hmm. And he goes, you can't tell yourself that. He goes, take your gender out of the equation. Take you being Asian out of the equation. He goes, I'm going to give you my camera, which is a Red at the time. He goes, I'm going to give you all my G&E gear. He's like, you help me make my movie. Let me help you make yours. And both of these situations happened very closely within weeks of each other. This script and my friend's offer.
Wow.
And with that kind of synchronicity, you can't help but imagine, oh my God, I have to take this leap, right? I have to try. Like, I have to try. And then so I went on Kickstarter. I took out my savings, took out a line of credit. Really bad idea, but I did it. And, I did crazy shit. I went to my parents. I'm like, hey, I never got a master's. Sorry for being a failed daughter, but can you give me like something so I could prove to you that I'm like worth, like my life is worth something, right? And then they agreed to give me some money. And they go, Roxy, if you do not get a directing job, like you're like one directing job shortly after this feature, they're like, you must do something else. You must quit. And I go, all right, that's the deal that I must make, like with this money that you're giving me, right? Which wasn't a lot. Like in the end, with Kickstarter, with my savings, with the line of credit, with what my parents gave me, it was probably around $80K. Which is a lot, right? For, a lot of people. So then I said, all right, well, I'm going to take the biggest fucking leap of faith in my fucking life. And it's either going to destroy me or something's going to come out of it.
Well, something's going to come out of it.
Something's going to come out of it. And then so then I made the movie, and Minji, I cannot tell you, like, we shot it in 13 days. Jessica Roth was the lead, and she's a big star now. But I remember like walking onto set and doing my first day, and I did a lot of things. I was a producer. I was an editor. I could do a lot of things. I'm a person that's able to multitask and fit into wherever I need to. But nothing felt more like, I don't know, like spiritual or complete or just, it just felt like the universe connected with me the moment I started directing. And I knew I was good at it.
I love that.
Like, I knew that there's something about this that just feels right and aligned. And the lead actor, the other lead, Michael Nardelli, it was his first time working with me. He goes, Roxy, you're really good. Cool. And I said, thank you. Give me that validation. I would love more of it. And he goes, well, I'm developing a series called Dark Web. And he goes, would you like to write and direct one episode? I'm like, oh my God. I fucking freaked out. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is like, are you kidding me? And then like shortly after that, The Tribe, which was the movie, went to a genre festival in Austin. And I met this director, Tony Valenzuela, who's this queer, Latino director. And I watched his movie. I think it's called Axe Murders of Villisca, that ended up going to IFP. But we became instant friends. And so we went to each other's screenings. And he sat and he watched mine. And afterwards, he's like, Roxy, this is really good. And then it turns out that he was up for a movie called Painkillers. And while he was in the movie for this pitch, he's like, hold up. Y'all got to check out this girl named Roxy.
Wow.
And so he like stepped aside and gave the producers my name.
Go, girl.
Yeah. And I was like, this is what community is.
Yeah.
It's like making space for others. Like there's not just one of us at the table. And I will always be thankful for Tony for that, because now he introduced me to one of my favorite collaborators, Luke Barnett, which we've been working on, so many things together. But then all of it just sort of like the universe just kept giving me one validation, like sign after sign, opportunity after opportunity, which I know is fucking rare. Mm-hmm. And I just went with it. So then it's like, the first time I went on set and I was like, fuck, I'm good at this. It's as something sparked this timeline awakening of like Roxy as a director. And like now I know I'm in my strange transitionary time where I'm like, my feelings are everywhere. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I open my eyes and I see where I am now, the people that I've surrounded myself with, the people I've attracted, the people that I've built with, the place I'm living in, the life I'm living in. Yes, it's unpredictable and it's hard not having, a financial partner sometimes. But my God, am I privileged? Like I'm living this life that has been unwritten, has been unexperienced. How amazing is that?
Special. Like I love And I freaking love this. This is, I get to know your origin story because, girl, we've been in a lot of spaces together and we've gotten to experience a lot of cool things, but I haven't been able to learn this about you, like how you entered into that space and like, not only like the what's, because there's so many things to that story, but it's really like what was the undercurrent of all that. That's the part that honestly, at the end of the day, for most things, I'm the most interested in that. What was like bringing you to, what motivated you to do that? Not just like, oh yeah, I did this and I talked to this person.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about the human, like that's what makes me as an artist or storyteller. I want to know, like, well, what were you going through? What were you like brought up to think that? Were you ultra confident or were you scared as fuck and then you just did it anyway? I'm very curious. And so I love that. I love to get this version of this story from you, Roxy, because I think it's also just so, like a story can tell a million things in one story that you don't have to even explain. But just like bring it back to what we're talking about, which is law of attraction, is about this concept of like life attracts like, and also the idea of like manifestation, which is like, your thoughts become things. Everything that we're interacting with in this world, like truly, this was what blew my mind when I came across this idea. It's like the microphones that we're using, the computers that we're like using to record all this shit, like the curtains on my window were all someone's ideas. They didn't exist at one point and someone thought about it and then they made it. So like everything around us and ourselves, we are a manifestation. I'm a manifestation of my parents' love, which I don't really want to go there, but like, I wouldn't exist.
Yes.
And so,
and it's crazy because like people are like, how does manifestation work? Blah, 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 right? Like, it's all woo-woo shit, right? But it's really not, because
it's really not.
It's really not. So just going into tarot practice, right? Like, for example, if someone gets a reading with me, they're like, I want to know if the person that I swipe right on Tinder that we match if this is the one. I was like, I am not the tarot reader for you, because here's the situation, right? I tell you about multiple outcomes. I tell you about the risks that you don't take. Like, nothing is a right or wrong decision. Everything is a choice. And I show you the outcome of that choice. You could stay to live in comfort and stability and routine and stay within your comfort zone, or you could take a risk and have an adventure, and I could channel that person, that future version of you, and see what advice that she has with you. So when you can visualize something, it's because future you is projecting information to you.
Okay. We got to dive into that.
Yeah. But I'll answer your question.
Yeah.
And so, what was the question? I'm sorry. I got really excited about the fact of like astral projecting information with different versions of yourself, because there's a lot of different outcomes and different parallel universes where like there's a version of you that's doing something, and that's why they talk about sort of like the shifting effect, where like or what is it, the Mandela effect, where like some information from this universe like goes into another, like everything everywhere all at once. That's like a very real that's like a very real thing, where it's like the outcome is designed by your actions in the present. So you don't go anywhere by not taking action. Like so for example, like people saying, I want to bring in my soulmate, and I'm like, but are you doing the work, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I just want someone to love me, but are you doing the work on yourself? Mm-hmm. And I know that you're somebody who practices very deeply, Minji, because you're somebody who's always elevating and working on yourself. So it's like using these tools to make that reality actually happen. But first you actually have to take those steps. So when I did that crazy move, I just thought to myself, I have nothing to lose. And I'm like, what am I afraid of losing? My reputation? I'm like, there is none, And I come from a very different place than, a lot of those successful filmmakers. I'm just like, I'm learning as I go. I think we all kind of do that. I don't want to generalize everything, but it's more so that I'm the type of person that'll say yes to everything. And if you pay me $5, if you pay me $5,000, my effort was the same the entire time. And
I love that.
Obviously now it's different. Now I'm just like, okay, I just want to work very little
for max output.
Exactly. I just want to manifest like a timeshare in the Maldives for me and all my friends. Like,
splendid. I'll see you there.
Yeah, that's all I wanted. But I think what I did was I was operating off of fear. Mm-hmm. And my fear didn't cripple me. My fear made me jump. So
love.
I was afraid of not being someone that I couldn't be proud of.
I think that's a very interesting and like poetic way to be fearful. But that's still, like to go back to like what the feeling of like what's attracting what when we go to love attraction stuff of like when we're in that state of fear though, that can result in some things that we don't want to.
Yes.
Right.
So, like, vibrations, right? Like we're using the frequency of our vibrations to attract those that are emitting similar vibrations as we are. That's why you and I get along so well immediately, right? And that's why you, me, and Priska and Kevin Fong, we're like, this is just synergetic. This is like something that is so loving and safe and powerful.
It feels easy.
Exactly.
And fun.
It is. It's like I'm just trying to live a life of ease. That I do everything with ease, that I make money with ease, that I attract good friends with ease, that I attract lovers with ease, whatever. But I think that like in terms of negative or like being in low vibrational state, I think it's completely human to do that. I think what you have to be mindful of more than anything is self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yes.
So if that's actually just work on yourself, right? Like the narrative and the language in which you speak to yourself, if that's going to happen, yes, it's going to happen.
Right. I love that we're entering this part of it because this goes to like the nuts and bolts of this.
Right.
And let us pause for 1 second to take a little quick break and then we'll come back and we'll jump right back into it. Yay?
Yay.
Yay. Okay. BRB.
At the local bar, dressed to the nines to impress the dark.
Hi, I'm Marvin.
And I'm Rira.
And we're the hosts of Books and Boba, a book club and podcast dedicated to books by Asian and Asian American authors.
Each month, we pick a book by an Asian author to read and discuss on the show.
We read a variety of genres, including contemporary and historical fiction, sci-fi and fantasy, romance and cozy mysteries, and so much more.
Our past book club picks have included Pachinko by Minjin Lee, Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Ribeye, Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang.
Every month, we also go through the latest news in Asian American literature, as well as chat with some awesome Asian authors about their works.
So whether you want to start reading for fun again or diversify your TBR list, we got your Asian literature cravings covered. For more info, check out our website at booksandboba.com, and you can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you find your podcasts.
Part of the Potluck Podcast Collective.
Hey, First of All fam, if you're a fan of the show and would like to support, consider backing us on Patreon. You can join our Discord community and get different perks by going to patreon.com/firstofallpodcast. If you'd like to support in other ways, you can go check out firstofallpod.com or subscribe and leave a 5-star rating on your favorite platform. Or just follow me on Instagram, because I love hearing from you. Thank you all so much for the support, and enjoy the show.
Lost it all when I heard the sound. Windows down and the powers out.
Welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed your little break. Roxy, are you refreshed?
I love it. I just drank a gallon of water. Everything is good. I doused myself in it. I'm all wet for you now. Wait.
On all fronts, yes. Okay, so in our last segment, I want to also note I feel so good about this episode just because how I feel right now. Before we jump into nuts and bolts, because this is related. I have been feeling some type of way about my own podcast. When I listened back on certain old episodes, I was judging myself and getting really cringy because I could hear my own disingenuousness.
That is a word. You just created a word. I love it. Let's go with it. Yeah.
I was being fake and like not fake, but I wasn't being my most truthful self. And one of my intentions that I set for this season onward in my life, podcast, anything otherwise, is I want to be truthful. And that is way harder than I have ever realized. And I continue to learn this as a grown-ass woman. Like, what does truthful mean? It doesn't always mean, like, before I used to be like, oh, if I can curse out loud or if I don't, then that's me being my truest self. Not always. Like, I can be truthful without cussing. Or I can cuss and still be truthful. Like, there are all these, like, ways I was looking at it. I was like, how come I don't feel like I'm being truthful and honest about my actual thought, about what I feel? It just wasn't registering. So I just want to say I feel so good about this episode going right into season 3 because I feel very much myself with you, Roxy. I feel that I'm putting a version of me that, like, I'm not putting on a farce in any way.
See,
and
that's
that feels
the
really
thing.
good.
It's like people try to compartmentalize their life. Like relationship one thing, career one thing, you know, family one thing. Like who are you in these different roles, right? But it's all an ecosystem of you.
Yeah.
So the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. And thank you. So I just want to acknowledge that because it feels great to feel great. And
Yay!
I have had different bumps in this show to feel like I'm shape-shifting and always kind of like, and I think that was a root of some of my anger that I've carried throughout the years of like feeling exhausted and frankly like sick of always catering to everybody else's mood or personality or their preference all the time, and being like the ultimate people pleaser and not being like, no, this is who I am. Please accept me as you are.
I will accept you, Minji, however the fuck you are. If you don't feel like talking, we could just sit here and breathe deeply into the microphone. I think some listeners would love that too.
I mean, give them a little ASMR situation. Is that what you came here for?
Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. And we're just gonna like be with you.
Sorry, I'm like wheezing now.
I love it. So I want to thank you. Thank you.
Of course, love.
And coming back to the nuts and bolts of law of attraction. So we're saying like, we're talking about frequencies. We're using a lot of jargon like that you and I get. And I kind of want to bring in the fact that there are other people listening in and they might be noobs to this language.
Absolutely.
What do you describe as frequency? Because I have like my idea and I'm also a science nerd. Like I'm very artsy, creative, and abstract. Like truly, I love imagination and everything. But I'm also, again, the other side of me is very nuts and bolts, very like linear equations. I love that shit. And I've grown up, you know, being trained by school and like a previous career path of mine, which was I want to be a doctor. Like I was trained to be, make a hypothesis and test it and see like, is it true? What does the data say? And I love math and all that stuff. So like there's those two sides of me.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of science to this thing that people frame as this very abstract woo-woo, like, oh, it's all crystals and like ideas and fairies and unicorns in the sky, which I think that's very judgmental and a load of shit.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what you think when you explain like, what would you say like vibrations and frequencies when you talk about that? What are you talking about?
So I'm also the same way as well, Minji. Like I'm a very practical, pragmatic person. I mean, I'm a Capricorn. I need to be able to feel the material in front of me. So this woo-woo thing, I mean, this whole spiritual journey came as a complete shock to me. But it also, because I did see the proof, I did test my hypothesis and I did see the results. Now, to come at it from a very practical standpoint, when we're talking about vibrations, what that essentially means is energy. So are you working at a low, like a low spatial energy? Are you feeling low? Do you feel inactive? Do you feel that you have a lack of control of outside circumstances, right? Do you feel not empowered? Do you feel like you're trapped in a corner? Do you feel trapped? Do you feel innate, like, do you not feel in your body, right?
Right.
And on the flip side of that, if you're feeling a high vibrational energy, you feel like you could do anything. Like, not like taking shrooms or like, not like, like sometimes some of those, like, I guess you could take some of those substances for spiritual purposes, but in fact, like you're sort of in this elated state where you've trained like your body, you've recalibrated your neurological pathways, you've curated the dialogue in which you talk to yourself. And it's really interesting because I was trying to have this conversation with my father, and he's a very pragmatic, logical person, and he doesn't believe in this stuff. But I've been telling him about the results with my tarot clients. Like when I first started practicing, I didn't think I was much of a psychic. I just felt what I felt and I said it, right? And I was accessing my intuition. And there's a part of me that was afraid that I was wrong.
Okay.
But then my clients would keep coming back and they would say, Roxy, everything you said turned out to be true. And and so, I don't just have clients that ask me about like career and love. Some of them are extremely like intentional, like how do I deal with my infertility? I'm dealing with this situation at work that's like very complex. And I have access to information that helps them with that. And so I was telling this with my father because the whole thing with that client that was suffering from infertility, basically we worked on her for a year and she ended up getting pregnant and having her baby. This past year. So that was like pretty amazing. And my father was like, okay, so how does this work? Can you help me with my situation?
Wow.
And so he was very open to it. He's like, who's coming through? Like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you're my daughter. Like, this is weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're telling me a lot of shit. And it's sort of interesting to work in this space where I'm tapping into many different things. And a lot of it, I was like, okay, Dad, first of all, in the morning, I was like, what is the first thing you do? Like my advice is very practical. It's like, how do I change my energy, right? How do I not feel so shitty, right? And then I said, what is the first thing you do? He's like, check what's happening, with my work, check emails, right?
Yeah.
I go, stop. I was like, 10 minutes, right? Try this breathing exercise. I was like, you're in your head way too fucking much. And that's the thing with like this over excess of information regarding like spiritual jargon and like TikToks and like all that stuff and twin flames and all this information. Like we're trying to digest so much information in this short amount of time that like we're in our heads too much now. Right. When in reality, spirituality and accessing your higher self is all about coming back into your body. So if something doesn't feel right, where does that feel in your body?
Right.
If you don't feel good, where does it feel in your body? So then I tell my dad, I was like, here, let's try this for a little bit. I want you to do like, whether it's cardio for 10 minutes, if you like to run that out first thing in the morning before you look at anything, right? And I also want you to say to yourself, like, I'm going to have a great day today. And then he took this advice and he's like, the fuck is that, right? And he said, oh, is that 自我催眠, which in Mandarin translates to self-hypnotization, right? Hypnotizing yourself. And I said, in a way it is.
Yeah.
But by doing so, that's what affirmations are, right? Because even though you don't believe it initially when you start doing it because it feels cheesy or silly, over time, it's recalibrating the language in which you see yourself and the way you see yourself.
Right.
And then it becomes a part of your DNA. And you start to heal these sort of pockets that were hurting from that lack before. And when you use it as a practice, it becomes your subconscious.
Right.
So
because the subconscious is such a huge part of all of this, which is like we're so much, we as humans, like spirits and entities, we like exist beyond just what our thinking brain is, which is what like in the psych paradigm is like talking about generational trauma, like stuff that goes beyond what you've experienced in your waking life. Like, oh, I hurt my finger on this, or like, oh, so-and-so made fun of me and that left. But like, yeah, there's why, like when we talk about, when you're a young kid, your brain's a sponge and you're very vulnerable to a lot of things, and things that you're going to experience then are going to leave a different kind of mark on like who you perceive yourself to be, influence what you said, like your subconscious and the way that you talk to yourself, the way you like exist, because you show up with this certain set of beliefs and this narrative that's going on in your head, in large part unbeknownst to you. Right?
Absolutely.
And to your dad.
It's sort of connecting, like you doing those affirmations and like working on your vibrational energy is just creating messages for your subconscious self, right? So then it's so funny. If I could say the earlier part that I said a little bit more eloquently, it's a lot like low vibration is when you feel like you're powerless against the world, and high vibration makes you feel as if the world is your mirror. So whatever you put out is what you receive, right? I think that's like the most clearest rudimentary form of law of attraction. Like if you exude negative energy, you're gonna attract negative people, right?
Right.
If you attract positive energy, you're gonna attract like-minded people, and then so your world begins to shift. You come into a new stage, new plot lines, new characters, right? New environment, new level. Right. But then, of course, you have to be grounded enough to stay in your present, where you're like, okay, I'm grateful for all of this. And you're getting information from your future self and your past self as well. Right. And you're just like, I'm willing to make the commitment to take the steps in order to get there. Right. So it's not just your joy. Yeah.
Right. And it's not just mindset, it's mindset plus action, which I love that you said. Like there's some people who think that like, okay, if you just think good thoughts, like good things happen. Like I don't personally, that's not the way I explain it at all. And I was like, no, I think that it's a matter of creating, like cultivating a genuine sense of positivity, and positivity shows up in so many different forms. So to me, I'm like, like you just said, like gratitude is a huge part of it. I think that's like the foundational part of it is gratitude.
Yes.
Because I thought this really a long time, even when I was like a really strong Christian, when I was younger, I was like, I think happiness is when you're feeling grateful, and you can feel grateful for anything at any time. It's not like, oh, obviously you can feel really grateful when you have a gazillion, jillion dollars and all that stuff. stuff. But like, what if you don't, right? Like, what if all you have is 50 cents to like get your favorite gumball? And like, I'm thankful for that. And I thought this stuff when I was like, I think like 9th grade, 10th grade.
Wow.
I was like, I think happiness is genuinely just like people who are grateful for what they have. That I just remember that idea came into my mind. I was like, because we keep presenting, at least in this society in America, like capitalism, like you got to get this thing and you got to have that body and you got to, you know, get this car. And like I was
all that shit, dude.
drowning in that shit.
Yeah, I just hate it. Release that.
Yeah, especially with like Koreans and like the way that they would just always be very upwardly mobile and everything was about status and what school you went to. Do you have a Beamer? Like all this stuff, right?
Oh my God.
There's a part of me that I felt like I'm not gonna lie, like I really aspired for all that stuff too when I was younger. Like I wanted the achievement. I was like, but I was also coming from a really insecure place. Like I felt like I needed those things. And then there's another part of me that when I would sit and write in my journal or like whatever, in my many different moods, I'd be like, why the fuck do I need all that stuff? Like, why is that necessary for me to feel like I have some value in this life? Because like I get this thing and it lasts, that happiness, quote unquote, lasts for like a hot second, right? And then I'm just like on to the next shit. And
but
so
I think that's so brave of you. I mean, I think there are some people who refuse to access this space because they're quite scared. Either they've been
scary.
in that path for too long to even fathom a life where they could tap into that happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because happiness is accessible because it's all in our heads. You know, like everything is your brain.
Right.
Like all your powerful, all your energy, all your magic comes from there.
And I can understand, like, to me, I think what makes me a little apprehensive when I talk about it, because I do not ever want to minimize somebody else's suffering or their pain. And for somebody outside of yourself to like walk in, especially like in my darkest moments, because I went through some fucked up stuff when I was younger, right? Yeah. For somebody to like come up to me and tell me like it's all in your head, I would not respond well to that, right? Yeah. I wouldn't feel like you're honoring my pain. And like, so I understand that, which is why it makes me very apprehensive. And I want to say that out loud on this episode, because as much as I like very much believe in law of attraction, the results that come from shifting out of these like lower vibrations that you're talking about, it does not divorce like the fact that like if you're suffering, you're suffering. Yeah. What I'm trying to present as an option and as an encouraging factor is there's a way out of that suffering.
But also at the same time, in like lieu of practicing law of attraction, you also must do your healing.
Right, exactly.
So it doesn't just come, I want this so that I can get
Thank
this.
you.
No,
yes,
right?
Perfect.
Because you have, that's the yin and yang of it. You must confront your darkness in order to earn the light.
Right.
And how many times have we suffered
the light?
Yeah, I'm just like, I feel like I've been nonstop healing my entire life. And I'm like, oh, cool, great. So there really is no end because you have to accept the fact that it's a perpetual journey.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So I also, thank you for saying, I love you, Roxy. I also would say that because like my spiritual awakening, which has come in different waves through the last several years of my life, like, it's been some of the hardest shit I've ever been through. It's not like some rosy, like, I want a Prada bag and all of a sudden I have it. It wasn't that. Like, there are moments that like genuinely shook me of like, bro, I just like thought of this and now it's like appearing before me. I've had so many, and people, my friends around me, Roxy, like they can attest to that. They've been with me when stuff like that happens. Right. And I'll say something and it happens. And so I keep, for me, like, I'm sure there are other people out there too, but in my life, like, I've had so many data points of like, this shit is real. Oh, my thoughts are very powerful, good and bad, right? And so when it comes to the self-sabotaging stuff, those were lessons too, because it wasn't all just good stuff that I was manifesting and that because my point of attraction, my energetic self, my vibration was not consistent. I was going from being really grateful to being really bitter, right? To being like not healing stuff. So I'm just sitting in that shitty energy. Yeah. So I would attract stuff in that from there too, right? So I'm not trying to paint this rosy picture of like, just think happy thoughts. It's like, no, it's a practice and it's a process, like you're saying, and it's perpetual too, because we're always going to be challenged.
Success is non-linear.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, life is just peaks and valleys. But you know, it's like that thing about something not going right, right? Like, for example, what I'm currently brooding in right now. But in reality is because I've been practicing my healing and my spiritual journey and using the law of attraction, there's so many other things that I could fall back on that'll support me, you know, that gives me so much joy in ways that I never had access to before. Because not everything is like unicorns and rainbows, because that's not what life is. But my God, to cherish like the bittersweetness of like every single stage of your life. Like, I think I was talking to Priska the other day, and we had like a really powerful like discussion where we were drunk. But I was like,
Nice.
I was like, hey, like looking back, what would you say were the 3 biggest points of your 20s? Like the most important parts of your 20s, right? And I think she talked about like breaking up with her ex, right? And then she talked about like raising her money for her EP, or like doing a music video or whatever. And then she said something else. And I go, okay, when you were in your 20s, what were your biggest goals? And they were very different.
Right.
And so now I think about me worrying about this, and like 40-year-old me looking back. She'll be so fucking proud, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I may think that this is really fucking shit, and that maybe I'm questioning, like I'm not being smart about something or not being practical about something. But I know in the end, I'm not betraying myself.
Yeah. That's so important.
Yeah.
That's the truthfulness of you to you. And nobody can know that except you.
Absolutely.
Nobody knows like how, and this is where I think a lot of people in general, like, which I'm so grateful for, even though I know that it's been a really rough moment in general to like face these weird realities that we've gone through in pandemic, is like, why are we doing all this? Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we busting our ass like so hard, 80 plus hours a week, you know what I'm saying, on an hourly basis, exchanging my life for $1 that like keeps losing its value every year, like fucking inflation, right? And like,
I know, a bag of avocado is $50 now. So what are you going to do?
For real, right? And like, for all these, I think it's really kind of shaken everybody for like a lot of different results, because who knows where everybody else is at in the way that they approach the world, right? But it's just like making us question, like, what is the point of all this? And how am I deriving fulfillment? What is fulfilling and happiness versus like feeling like, okay, I got a dopamine kick because I got this achievement, but then like it lasts for 5 seconds because there's another thing that I got to do now. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool, I made 6 figures. Now I got to make 7. Now I got to make 8.
Yeah, no,
you know
exactly. I mean? Like, I feel like this, it really shook me awake when I realized that manifestation was real, because I remembered in my early 20s, I'll be like, I don't care what kind of movie I do. You know, like I want to make like Lifetime movies or micro budget movies, you know, whatever, because I didn't think that I would be able to. But then fast forward like 10 years, I'm like, oh, I did that. And I'm like, okay, what's next? Right. And I'm like, thank you, universe, but I don't want it anymore. And I'm like asking for bigger things, which I think is very natural because you're elevating, you know what I'm saying? But I want to ask you a question, Minji.
Yes.
What are you currently manifesting?
Oh, good question. My intentions are to manifest financial stability, which I have been manifesting. It's been very wild for somebody. I recorded with Melly not that long ago talking about my financial journey, and I've had a very rocky, very distorted relationship with money. And I think I pushed it away. I think I've self-sabotaged a lot in terms of like what I thought my value was, what I thought I was capable of earning. And so I've been manifesting a lot of financial abundance and stability in my life. I've been educating myself. I've been like saying better words, like watching my words, even like when I talk about spending. Stop saying stuff like I'm broke or I'm so poor. Like I don't say that stuff anymore.
Love that.
And it's been yielding good results. And I think it shifted my energy to be somebody that like, yeah, I can entrust Minji with a high budget X, Y, or Z, you know? I'm manifesting an acting and film career. Like for real, I feel like this year and a half, maybe 2, like I've been in actually a really bitter place with my former career. I'll just be truly honest with the Asian American community. I didn't think I was going to talk about this on the
No, please. Shit. I mean, so whatever you feel safe with.
No, this is why I feel safe like sharing it now. And I love that you asked me of all people, because you're in this space with me. I'm over a lot of shit that I used to care about a lot, that I invested a lot of myself, and I've had to reconcile where a lot of my anger and my bitterness and frustration comes from, because overall I've been so positive and so supportive in a lot of ways. Like And I don't take any of that back, but my lesson learned, my conclusions from that is that it's a chapter that at this moment for me, for my stability, for my sanity, for my emotional health, I need to close and leave behind and step into space for myself, for my own artistry, for my own creativity, because I've really, really struggled to let some stuff go.
Minji's entering her villain era.
Kind of, yeah, girl.
I love that. That's just setting hard boundaries and like not releasing your people-pleasing habits from the past.
Exactly. And it took me a very long time to untangle all of that because I was like, what the hell is my problem? I've wanted X, like X being, I want to act. I want to make movies. Like I also want to write and direct. Like I have so many other things and produce. Like I have other projects that I want to do that have not been happening. What the hell is my problem? Right. And so trying to answer that question, it took a long time of being triggered by things on social media, conversations with friends, isolating myself, and then like just really being like, and like looking at it through a lens of law of attraction, like what have I been attracting into my life? And that taking stock of the good and bad. And I had to kind of like just really write it out and think it out and map it out, either on paper, on my computer, in my journal, whatever, and like make heads and tails of it. Like I had to figure it out. So it was a very like methodical thing. It was a very emotional journey. Like, why am I so angry? Girl,
you can do anything.
Thank you.
I think you everything that you said, like it's hard for me to see you not doing any of that. Like anything that you put your will and intentions towards, it's possible for you. And that's like amazing for me to sit like as a bystander and watch you do all the amazing things that you are intentional towards, because I always see it happen.
Thank you. Oh, that means a lot.
It's like always the hardest for us to believe in ourselves, which is some fucking bullshit.
I agree. Well, that's a funny thing. When I was kind of diving into that, when I was thinking about like, what have I been attracting? Truly at the core of it, I do believe I can do it, right?
Yes.
So then I flip-flop, and there's times where like I get into imposter syndrome or I just get distracted. So I had to kind of like suss that out. Like, what the hell's actually going on here? Is it because I truly don't believe in myself, or is it that I believe in myself and I'm kind of giving my power away or being lazy, or a mix of many things, right?
Yeah.
Getting distracted, getting caught up in bitterness, and therefore not moving forward on this thing that I believe I can do. So that's where I had to really check. And my anger, I'll be really real. Like I've kind of like described myself as like, oh, I'm like an angry Korean girl. I'm not only, but like that's been a big way
like
that I've
not what I see you at all.
See,
like,
but inside, like I think I harbor a lot of anger that I keep well hidden. I let it out in certain safe spaces. And my people that are really close to me know that I have a lot of anger.
You know what's crazy is that I keep telling everybody, yeah, girl, I'm in my angry Chihuahua energy. Like I'm not only in my villain era, but I am allowing myself to show more anger than I've ever had before. And,
Same.
And
also,
I
love it.
It's crazy because like I remembered like when I first got signed and nobody really knew about me yet. And I would take meetings and I'm still myself. I'm still Roxy. You know what I'm saying? But like no one would really take me seriously because I didn't have any clout. And I would just, okay, I guess it's not safe for me to, really formulate my opinions here or like to really say what I want because obviously this safe does not respect me, right? Fast forward a few years later, I have some clout, right? I go into the same meetings again. I'm just myself again. The attention is completely different.
Right.
No matter what I say, it's a great idea. No matter what I, like it's all good. Like I'm just like everyone loves me, whatever. And it's kind of crazy because I'm just like, then I start to get angry about certain things, and people are like encouraging that now. And it's crazy because it's like now I'm at a different place, and I'm like allowed to show more anger. But and it's kind of interesting, like thinking about it now, because I know that it's probably not wise to show that anger, like when you're younger, because then you could ruin a lot of things because people are just not ready for you. But at the same time, is that fair?
Right.
And it's interesting now with the Great Resignation, with the pandemic, and with everything. People are a lot more angry now. People don't trust each other as much. There's a rise in violence, right? There's like all of these things happening because people are just burnt out.
Right. They're fucking tired.
If you don't show your anger, how else are you? I mean, I know it's terrible, but it's because people don't know where to put it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you point that, because to me, when I was, there's a book called Anger, I think, by a Vietnamese monk. Why the hell? I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's all
forgive
good.
me.
It's all. I forget things all the time. Yeah, it's all
I'll
good.
share a link to it, but it's amazing. But it's also what I remember the most out of the messaging out that helped me like just put an analogy that made sense to me, that anger is pain on fire. Something's hurting. Something's wrong. That's why you're mad, right? So I'd even peel back those layers of like really sit with that. And that's why I needed that isolation, that time away from the quiet of all the other outside noise to be with my own thoughts, which is really hard for me because I kept so busy all the time, which I think was also kind of a trauma response.
It is a trauma response, 100%, yes.
Right. And so like I was sitting and then like really thinking about what makes me angry. I have amazing people in my life. Like you were asking me this question. My brother, who's one of my best friends, was asking me genuinely, not in like a condescending way. He's like, why are you so mad? Like, what are you angry about? And he held space for me to be able to like unpack that. And I cried and I just like went on a huge stream of consciousness, and it revealed like I'm mad about this. I'm mad about walking into rooms and like people automatically dismissing me because whatever reason, right? And then going back to all of that after unpacking a lot of those things with therapy, with friends and loved ones who are so kind enough to like hold space for me, let me process, to then set different intentions saying, okay, if like this has been my point of attraction, then it makes sense that my opportunities have been a bit limited because I'm walking into rooms or conversations or relationships with this assumption. This is what's been sitting in my subconscious that, oh, you don't think that I'm good enough for this. Or you know what I'm saying? Or like, oh, you only want to help me for this.
Prophecy.
So it's a self-fulfilling motherfucking prophecy. And so like this all makes sense. On a mathematical equation, on an emotional, energetic, mathematical equation, it all checks out. Do you know what I'm saying?
It does make sense. So it's just like, you know, I also read somewhere, which I really love, that anger is like the emotion where like the little you that you were talking about, the little voice inside of you that was like challenging things, like it's a way of protection, right? It's like protecting you, like your boundaries were disrespected, you know, like you weren't listened, you weren't visible, right? It's that part of you that wants to fight for you. And it comes out in very toxic, unhealthy ways because we weren't able to give her, the angry Minji, the platform that she needed to express herself in that healthy way. So it becomes pent up in this like, this like a resentment volcano, right? As we could call it.
Which she's erupted. She's erupted here and there. And so
I've had that too.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think those are like data points, like the scientist me, I was like, okay, you know what? I've gone through these experiences. Did they yield me the results I wanted? No, they resulted in pain and tears and broken relationships and like XYZ. And I had to sit through a lot of that shit the last 2 years to really kind of see what are patterns, what are the types of people that I tend to attract, what am I doing about that? Am I okay with that? What are my boundaries? And what do I want to manifest going forward? What do I want my point of attraction to be? Because I genuinely don't want to attract people from my angry place. That's not where I want to be. Even though I honor it and it's truthful, like I work hard. I do my inner work to like heal that shit so that that's not where I'm like operating from. Does that make sense?
I'm going to stop you right there because when you're angry, what kind of language comes out? Because there's a way of expressing anger where it's like, it's justified. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I feel like, if it's like really lashy, because I feel like you've worked on yourself very much to this point where if it comes out of you, like, especially in the way that you hold yourself in this podcast, everything comes out honest. And if you want to be like really authentic, right? I just feel that like some anger, especially for women, that I just think it's unfair for us to not honor her because like just because she's angry doesn't mean she's negative. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like
very true. Very true.
Yeah.
I love you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's like I've earned a lot of respect for my anger recently too. And like in the past I'll be like, I'll make anything work. But me making everything work did not get me anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's like
it got you to a certain point, but yeah.
People stepped all over me, honey. You know, people were just like, oh, Roxy's the one that just could handle everything. But then my anger helped me set my boundaries. I'm not saying be angry all the time. That's not what this is. But I'm saying that like, you know, that powerful vibrational energy needs to honor anger too, you know, like as a proper sitting place on your council of reactions.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Like,
oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's like your intuition can have a seat at the table. Doesn't mean you always have to listen to her, but she deserves a chance to speak. Right.
Oh, I listened. Yeah. So I actually was like, I was very keen on listening to my anger and honoring her and then
Right.
Ultimately, kind of like my old co-founder, I went through this startup phase for 2 years trying to do this during COVID, but we ended up parting ways, which that's going to be another episode. But he called me like, I don't watch a lot of cartoons or anime or anything, but he's like, it's like airbender stuff. It's like, how do you take it and then move it at your will kind of thing, I'm guessing. So like, to me, it's like transmuting. Like, how do I take, what is this information giving me and what do I want to do with it? Because it is powerful. Anger is very, very powerful. I think that is one of my powerful energies. And then like, what do I want to do with it? Because that's where my intention, what I want to manifest comes into play, because that's my intention. Like saying, I want financial abundance. Like, I don't want to fight with everybody that I'm making money with. I actually really want to collaborate with people that are dope, that I respect, that have that are creative and collaborative. I don't like the idea of making money for people who are exploiting me or exploiting anybody. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Or like adding to a narrative, using my voice, my talent, whatever, my creativity, my energy towards something that's like fucking anybody over. I don't want that. That's an intention I set. Because that makes me angry.
You can harness that anger. You know, like for example, Priska and I have salty vents. So what this is like where we just like complain about the shit that's going on in our life, you know, because we don't want to be ungrateful, but we're also human. You know what I mean? Like not using like anger or some sort of negative emotion to sort of lash out on people or hurt others, because that's not that we can't do that. You know, that's not good. But like to use it to channel it in a healthy way where it could provide and stand up for like our inner ethical sort of our own ethics, right? Our own moral code, like, and use that anger for good.
I love it.
And, you know, I think that, again, your council of reactions, right? Yes,
one of the key seats, yes.
Yes, and so it's the spectrum and how to use all those different energies in order for you to feel like you're not betraying yourself. Like, everything goes back down to that, right?
Love it.
So I just love we're on this journey, and I'm like, you know, there's a people-pleasing aspect of me that tries to come back during these moments where I'm like, maybe I need to work more. Maybe I need to be busy more or whatever the fuck, right? To make myself feel purposeful. But I'm just like, it's just not worth it. You know what I mean? Like my energy, I respect myself so much now. Like, holy shit, younger me would look at myself now and be like, Roxy, you're so cool. You know, like who would have thought? You know, like it's awesome. So
that's how we all look at you, babe.
That's how I look at you too. So let's just keep doing the work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
I'm going to say to close out what you asked me, because I want to share this with you, because I wish this for everybody, especially you and what anybody listening to this podcast. I really want to manifest healthy, loving, energizing, peaceful relationships.
And you'll get that.
You'll get that. Huge. And I think some of my anger from past experiences has been helping me get to a place where I have come to terms with a lot of things that happened in my past, and I'm no longer interested in like mulling that over as much as possible.
Yes,
do I still sometimes? Bitch, but for the most part, get out. We been there, done that, and it's thank you for educating me. From here on out, your girl's got boundaries. Yes. Your girl has standards. I want to be around other people who are excited about life. Am I requesting you to be on unicorns and rainbows all the time? No. But like energetically, I can feel when somebody is genuinely grateful to be alive, that has purpose. And those are the people that I genuinely enjoy being around. And I love that. And it takes work to get there.
Oh my
That's
God.
What I want.
Yes, bitch. Look at that. Clear, concise, assertive, and confident. We move forward. We don't move back. You know, we explored all those oat cycles. We've opened them again. We close them. We're like, nah, for good. Goodbye. I learned. I grew. Thank you.
I love it. Yeah. Yes. So out of this, I want to also like honor like what you're going through. Cause I do think right now you and I are similar camps, like still evaluating a lot and bringing things into fruition. Like, what do you want to manifest? What are you manifesting right now?
Honestly, I've been, Minji, everything you've talked about today, I'm just like, you have no idea how similar you and I are. And we've gone through many similar life paths and encountered very similar difficulties. But maybe we all do, just in different sort of amounts or like different, categories or levels of importance. For me, my biggest thing is my relationship with money.
Okay.
And I basically, at the start of the year, I said, I was intentional to the universe. I said, I am comfortable making more than I'm used to. Mm-hmm. And then like literally within the first month, like all this shit came in and I like didn't even bat an eye when someone offered me a rate like twice as what I'm used to per day.
Yes.
And it felt good because I used to feel like I wasn't enough. And I used to feel that I'm somehow, imposter syndrome. I'm somehow parading this facade that somehow everyone is believing. But no, that's out because I am fucking amazing. So like,
you are, and I love
anyone should be fucking lucky to get a little bit of an inch on this, So for me, I really want to manifest financial stability. That is actually the biggest thing because I just want to be able to eat sugarfish whenever I want to. I want to have a timeshare in the Maldives with my friends. I want to live well, and I want to provide for others and those that I love. Like that's my biggest intention is that.
I love it.
And I think that is what I'm focusing. Oh, the second thing I want to manifest is that, it's not even manifestation. I think it's just my work is I promise to myself that everything that I pursue will be something that I'm completely intentional towards. No more random things. No more random relationships. No more random projects. No more if it's something that I'm not really aligned with, but it pays me money. No more of that. And that requires sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
And time again, the universe continues to show me more amazing things than I could have ever expected for myself. And right now, as I'm in my weird middle of my Cantor's Law circle phase, I need to believe in that because it's proven to me time and time again, like a scientist, hypothesis, theory, right? Evidence. It's happened time and time again. So why can't I do that again? Because I'm human. Yeah, thank you,
yeah.
Thank you.
You will, and you are.
Thank you, girl.
I love it.
I love it.
Roxy, I am so glad we got to just share this. Like, this genuinely feels very sacred to me because this is a very personal part of me. It's like the things that I've been like struggling through and sifting through. And it has been an identity shift for me personally because I grew up believing such different, like, and it's such a different paradigm. Yeah. And quite frankly, like a lot of the stuff I talk about or entertain or wonder about or am open to now, former me would have been like, what are you doing? That's not good. That's not Christian.
You're just full of magic now.
I mean, and if there's anything, my intention with like sharing this side of me that feels like a little like, ooh, you guys are like really seeing behind the curtain. Yeah. But like to open other people's ideas of possibility. I genuinely don't care about converting anybody. I love people who expand my world. I love people who add to like, oh, I knew this, quote unquote, but like there's also this. And it just fills you with wonder and being like, oh my God, is that possible? Could that actually like add to my life and make it better and give me more, curiosity and creativity and imagination that I didn't kind of allow myself? That's my intention with sharing this stuff. The fact that I get to do that with you means so much.
Minji. I mean,
because you're magic.
Baby Minji. I mean, if you looked at like 12-year-old Minji, how do you think she would think of you now?
I think she'd think I'm a pretty cool chick.
Yes, bitch!
She'd be like, can I have like lunch with you? Can I like sit with you? But I'd be shy.
That is the best. Like when you think of, like I reconnect with my inner child all the time.
Yeah.
And I think, a really great way to ground yourself, like in the midst of going through different challenges is I'm going to be, I am the role model that my younger self fucking loves, and I think if that, you don't need any other validation than that.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Drown out the rest of that noise. It's just noise.
Yeah, it's all just choices. And look, at the end of the day, if you recognize a pattern, all that it comes down to is a choice. Because if you continue to, not break the pattern, then you're just being oblivious to, getting out of your comfort zone and breaking that cycle.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I'll say as like love to you, Roxy, like as we're drifting in our respective boats and figuring out where to paddle next, where our choices will take us. Like, and this is also to everybody listening. I think like what we've shared today, we went through a lot of different things. To me, I think there's so much, there's the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings.
Yes.
And to me, when it comes to vibrations and what I want to leave people with, like our vibrations are very heavily influenced by our feelings. And we're in a very thinking world, and there's value to that. I'm not discouraging thinking, but like you're saying, there can be an overthinking. It can be too much in your head. And like coming back to our hearts and our soul and our feelings is why I think art is so important. Like what music does, it takes us somewhere different. Watching a good movie, like being able to like process feelings and like cry and laugh and like feel lovey-dovey, feel sexy, like all those different feelings that we have, like we're making space for that more and more. I think that's, Frank, I think that's what you stand for, Roxy, is like getting in touch with your soul and like letting her shine.
Let your logic marry intuition, honey. Because you know what I'm saying? It's
golden nugget.
You cannot separate these two things. Also, you cannot separate your mind with your body. Everything is one ecosystem. Like I always talk about coming back to your body, because even doing body scans, meditation, right? Masturbation, like, or exercise, right? All of these things, all of these actions take us out of our heads. And when we're in our bodies, that's when we can feel alignment. That's when the noise in your head quiets down. And you're just like, how am I feeling? Because you feel it in your body.
And I think good things come from that. Love
Masturbation? Absolutely, yes.
Oh, feel good, babe.
Yes.
Like, feel good.
Yes.
Can we close out with 3 questions that I've been asking all my guests?
Absolutely, love.
Roxy, what are you grateful for today?
Oh, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this space. I'm grateful for a lot. See, I'm already, not just one thing, I'm like immediately spitfiring so many things. This view that I'm looking at as I'm talking to you, I'm on the 11th floor of my building. So I see like all through Griffith Park and I see the sky. And I'm grateful for the conversations that I'm able to have with the people that I'm connecting with in a way that makes us feel more open, exploratory, and not alone. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to? Hey, you know, I shouldn't think too much about this, but honestly, I'm looking forward to sleeping well tonight.
Yes.
Is that crazy?
That is not. That is so wonderful. I'm looking forward to you sleeping well.
Thank you. As we get older, I just want to eat well, sleep well. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. It's all that simple. If anything, we talk about a lot of like big concepts.
Yeah.
When we bring it down, like just eat well, sleep well.
Yeah.
Love well.
Love well. I'm just
golden.
like nothing beats a great night of sleep.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So true. I love it. And what are parting words that you want to leave with our listeners today?
Parting words that I want to leave with. I guess I would just say the quote that was like on the Google like earlier that Anna sent out. It's a quote by Marianne Williams. I'm just going to pull it up real quick so I don't say it wrong. I can't pull it up right now, but it says, if you allow your own light to shine, you give others permission to do the same.
Yes.
So that's like
I have it pulled up. Do you want me to?
Yeah, you can say it the right way.
As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same.
Amen.
That is Roxy's favorite quote.
My favorite quote. Yeah.
So wonderful. And you did that today. Thank you, my love, for being here.
Thank you, Minji, for having me. I'm so excited.
This was really, really fun. And I will talk to you very soon.
Okay, my love. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for tuning in for this week's episode of First of All, Season 3, Episode 1, talking about law of attraction and manifestation with Roxy Shih. You guys got to follow Roxy at Roxy Shih 88 and go check out her podcast, Two Horny Goats with Priska. And we have a special homage to that podcast and those two hosts with Priska closing out with our outro music this week. Before we get to that, I want to thank my team, my producers, Marvin Yue and Anna Sun, my social media manager, Juliana Deer. I love you guys. Thank you so much to my Patreon patrons. Thank you guys for keeping this podcast afloat. If you'd like to support me and the podcast, you can go to firstofallpod.com, find links to everything, to the Patreon, to PayPal donations, to anything. It's all there for you. Thank you so much for any and all generosity. If you want us to just say hi, I appreciate that too. You can email me at firstofallpod@gmail.com. Follow along on Instagram at firstofallpod for updates on the show. Follow my page. My personal page is at Minji. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you guys so much for the encouraging words. I've gotten some DMs that have truly just like honestly brought tears to my eyes. It means so much that people are getting something valuable out of this show. Thank you so much. And of course, I got to do the shout out to Uzuhan. We love that song. He just topped 1 million streams on Spotify for the song Uzu Trap. I hope that I have contributed somewhat because it's honestly one of my favorite songs. Good vibes all around. Whenever I hear that song, automatic good mood. So thank you to James for letting me use his song Uzu Trap for the intro. And this week's outro is Roxy's incredible co-host for Two Horny Goats and one of the most talented musicians that I know and a dear friend of mine. We have Priska, along with her husband, Abe, also known as Aber Beats, and this is their cover of the song Lonely Star. So that's it for this week's episode. Take care of yourselves. I love you, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.
Is there anybody out there?